Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Our next talk is Harry Potter and the InfoSec Apprentice by Zammers and Kryptone.
Hi there. Welcome to Harry Potter and the InfoSec Apprentice. At the end of the day, there's been a lot of other stuff going on, so we really appreciate that you're sticking around and watching. You ready?
Yeah.
Cool.
First, we want to warn you about spoilers. We will be talking about things that happen in the 7 Harry Potter books. We will not, though, be talking about the Cursed Child, Fantastic Beasts, or other side stories. If you don't know the books, we will be spoiling them for today. You have now been warned.
Hi there. I'm Zammers. I'm a Ravenclaw. So I like doing math for fun. I'm really interested in encryption and security. So I'm entering high school this year and hope to learn a whole lot more about computer science, cybersecurity, and cryptology.
Hi, I'm Kryptone. I'm a Gryffindor, and I am proud of it. I love woodworking and crafts. I like to pick locks, and I love to code. I'm right now working on my very own online entertainment portal.
So stories are really fun. They teach about the world. Humans have used stories for thousands of years to figure out things that they don't understand and to explain complicated ideas. Mr. Aesop had the right idea with his fables. My parents have been talking about the hare and the tortoise since I was little. The ancient Greeks used myths to explain seasons or why we have spiders. My brother and I like to read, and we remember things we read.
It's a lot easier to remember a story than a lesson. Me personally, songs are even better than stories. Songs are like stories, just set to music. I learned how to use order of operations in math with just a song. Let me tell you, it was a lot more fun singing and dancing math than just memorizing the rules. Anyway, one day I realized that there's a lot of InfoSec in the Harry Potter books, so I tried to find as many as I could. That's how this all started. First, we're going to talk about the coolest and also the most cursed subject at Hogwarts, Defense Against the Dark Arts. This is the class where Harry and his friends learn about things that can hurt them, but also how to protect themselves. It's a pretty dangerous class too. For example, never open a cage full of pixies. Thanks, Professor Gilderoy Lockhart, for that lesson. Muggles don't have to worry about pixies or dementors, but being online can be dangerous too. I don't want someone to hack my school and change my grades so I fail. Oh my. Or steal money out of my bank account. I don't have enough money, but I would like to keep it. We have to know how to protect ourselves and information about ourselves when we are online. We'll talk about the dark arts later, but safety first. Security is very, very important. So we start with authentication first. Who am I? Who are you? In the world of Harry Potter, who you say you are is very important. Can you prove that you are you? This is from the Sorcerer's Stone. 3 up, 2 across, he muttered. Right. Stand back, Harry. He tapped the wall 3 times with the point of his umbrella. We have just begun to learn about the wizarding world, and Hagrid has already shown us our very, very first security example. So let's talk about passwords.
We are used to passwords. Email, Instagram, Zoom meetings. We have too many of them. We all complain about them, but we need them. We could probably talk about passwords for the entire hour, but we are going to focus on 3 types: rotating passwords, biometrics, and shared passwords. Rotating passwords refer to passwords that change periodically. Someone steals the password, that person has a limited amount of time to use that password. Otherwise, it expires and no longer works. Does that sound familiar? The passwords to enter each house's common room change regularly. Sometimes the member of the house don't even know the password and have to wait for somebody who does know to come. Ron and Harry often get locked up outside the common room because they are up to no good at the password changed. Neville almost always has to rescue them. It also makes it really hard to sneak into another house's common room because you have to make sure you know the latest password. Biometric passwords use body parts. So in the Muggle world, we might use retina scanners or fingerprints. In the Wizarding world, they use goblins. Biometrics can be used on their own, like Apple's Face ID. Or you can unlock a phone with a fingerprint. Or it could be the second part in 2-factor authentication, and it goes with a password. And some passwords are shared within a group or a team. Everyone in the office is going to know the password to open up the keypad everybody in the office is going to know the code to open up the keypad in the front of the building. If you don't need to go into the building, you won't know the code. In the same way, only wizards and witches know what spot on the wall they have to press and in what order to be able to get into Diagon Alley.
There's a difference between authentication and authorization. Authentication is about who you are. Authorization is about what you're allowed to do. For security, you want both. Just because you're authenticated doesn't mean that you're always authorized. That's confusing. Let me explain. The portrait of the fat lady is at the entrance of Gryffindor common room, and the only way in is if the fat lady lets you. She knows that Harry Potter's a Gryffindor. Great. That's authentication. But the fat lady isn't going to let him in just because he's Gryffindor and he's Harry Potter. Harry Potter still has to give her the correct password. That is authorization. He has to prove he is allowed to go in. Authorization can happen without authentication too, though. In Goblet of Fire, Cedric Diggory tells Harry the password to go into the prefect's bathroom, and it works for him even though Harry is not a prefect. Password managers save all our passwords. This way, we can have super long and super complicated passwords for each of our accounts because we don't want to use the same passwords over and over and over again. We also don't want to accidentally forget them. That happened to you? I keep asking my parents if I can use LastPass, but they keep telling me I don't have enough accounts yet, although I am working on it. Secret keepers are like password managers because you give your secrets to them and they keep them safe for you.
We live in New York City. We have a deadbolt and a regular lock on our door, and a chain. That's layered defense. Someone trying to break in would have to get past the regular lock, get past the deadbolt, and cut the chain. It's a lot harder to get through compared to if we just had one lock on the door. In security, it's almost always better to have several challenges than just one. Still on the Sorcerer's Stone, we have this bit from Hagrid. He borrowed Fluffy from me. Then some of the teachers did enchantments. Professor Sprout, Professor Flitwick, Professor McGonagall, Professor Quirrell, and Dumbledore himself did something, of course. Hang on, I've forgotten someone. Oh yeah, Professor Snape. Hagrid this time is talking about defenses. When something is super important, you want to make sure it's hard and time-consuming for anyone to steal. The more layers of security you have guarding something, the harder it is to get past. It's like having a lot of locks on a door. Or maybe you have to get through multiple doors to get to a top secret important room, and at every door you have to swipe your badge. Or you have to enter your password anytime you do something different, which would be really annoying, but it also slow down an attack. So let's talk about the Triwizard Tournament. The final challenge is a maze, and there are many obstacles preventing the school champions from getting to the middle and getting the Triwizard Cup. There's the Sphinx, there are spells. However, the obstacles aren't really that different from each other if you had a wand and knew the right spells, except for the Sphinx. If you think about it, the Acromantula and the Blast and Scoop were even basically the same challenge.
What's better than having lots of challenges? Having unique ones. MFA or multi-factor authentication is when you need more than just a password to log in. A YubiKey is something different from a password and protects accounts even if someone has your password. That person also needs a physical object. Or in the movies, when the spy needs a badge, voice recognition, and a retina scan just to get into a room, you want different types of security defenses. The defenses the teachers put around the Sorcerer's Stone is a great example of how unique defenses make it hard for a thief to succeed. Harry, Hermione, and Ron had to get past Fluffy with music. Hermione knew how to escape the devil's snare because she actually paid attention in herbology. Harry flew around the room of flying keys to find just the right key to unlock the door. And Ron played wizard chess to get across the room. Professor Quirrell then failed to find the stone because he didn't understand how to use the Erised, but Harry did. Each of these challenges required different skills and strengths.
Encryption is a really important security layer, and it protects many things we do online. Encryption makes it possible to talk privately. My snaps on Snapchat are encrypted. The HTTPS on websites means data from the site is encrypted when it goes to the server. For online shopping, that means the credit card number is protected from thieves. For logging in, my password isn't just put out there in plain text. We jump ahead to Goblet of Fire for this one. I just thought you wanted to take advantage of the common room being quiet, she said. Really get a chance to work on that egg. Oh, I reckon I've got a pretty good idea what it's about now, Harry lied. Have you really? Said Hermione, looking impressed. Well done. Here Hermione wants Harry to decrypt an encrypted message. We'll come back to this in a bit.
Secrets are pieces of information, such as passwords and credit card numbers. Only certain people or servers need to see this information. Secrets can also be messages and conversations. Only the people we're having a conversation with should know what we're saying. If someone we don't trust gets to see our secrets, we can be in grave danger. Encryption and other methods help us share our secrets with only those we trust. When Dumbledore's army is first formed in the Order of the Phoenix, the members realized that Dolores Umbridge could not find out about the group. DA members need to trust each other not to go blabbing to non-members about what the group does, where they meet, or even who the members were. They sign an agreement promising to keep the secret. But when Marietta tells Dolores Umbridge about the group, that trust is broken. Marietta is punished too, though, as boils erupt on her face to spell out sneak. Hermione is very serious about keeping secrets.
One way to protect information is encryption. When you encrypt information, you use a rule to change the information into a form that cannot be understood. Anyone who wants to understand the information needs to know the rule to decrypt the gibberish. Sometimes a different rule is even necessary to decrypt it. If the rule is the same to encrypt and decrypt the data, that's called symmetric encryption. That means that the sender and the recipient need to have the same key. The rule is different, that's asymmetric encryption, because there is one key to encrypt and one key to decrypt. We'll talk about this more later. In Goblet of Fire, Harry steals a dragon egg in the first challenge, and that contains a clue about a second challenge. He has to figure out how to make the magically recorded message give him a loud, annoying noise to an actual clue he can use. The decryption key turned out to be water. When he opened the egg in the air, it played the encrypted form of the message. When he opened the egg underwater and listened underwater, the message is decrypted and he learns the next clue. There are many ways to protect information so that they're harder to steal. Ciphers are different methods that can be used. Some are better than others. You could use substitution ciphers and Rot 13 to write secret messages to your friends. You need a bit more than that for online shopping though. RSA is a widely used asymmetric key algorithm for encrypting data. AES is an example of a symmetric key algorithm, and cryptographers are still developing new methods. We mentioned the Sphinx from Goblet of Fire earlier. The Sphinx required Harry to solve a riddle before letting him proceed further into the maze. The riddle was a code, and you needed the answer to get to the rest of the secret, or in this case, the rest of the maze. In Deathly Hallows, Dumbledore gave Hermione the first edition copy of the Tales of Beedle the Bard. The book is originally written in runic script, so Hermione first had to figure out what it said in English. Her task wasn't just translating the rune from English. She also needed to use Dumbledore's notes to figure out what Dumbledore wanted her to know. One of the most important ways to use encryption is to protect what we're saying, so eavesdroppers like Fred and George don't hear anything, even with their extendable ears. The point is to send messages in a way that can't be read or heard by someone else, and to make sure it reaches the correct recipients. Encryption is also proof that no one has changed the message either. Imagine if trying to buy anything online was a game of telephone with your credit card number.
I just want to point out something. Fred and George's extendable ears is a perfect example of a man-in-the-middle attack. You have person A talking to person B, and Fred and George, or person C in some cases, are right there to learn what in the world is going on. Person A and B most likely have no idea that there's anyone else taking part in their conversation. Just a little tangent. You can keep going.
Anyway, in end-to-end encryption, messages are encrypted by the sender and decrypted by the receiver to keep anyone intercepting the message from getting the information. There are so many ways to send messages using end-to-end encryption now. There's Snapchat, iMessage, Signal. The Death Eaters have the dark mark on their forearms. They know that when that mark burns, Voldemort has summoned them and they must obey. As far as I can tell, there is no way for someone else to trigger the dark mark as a fake call. Dumbledore's army has members in different houses and classes, and it's difficult to pass messages about the time and date of their meetings. It's not like they can put a flyer up in the Great Hall. The members carry enchanted galleons that display the message secretly. The members of the Order of the Phoenix also use end-to-end encryption using a Patronus. Since the Patronus is specific to the person casting the spell, it shows that the message is genuine and really from that person. Arthur Weasley sends the Patronus of a weasel to the burrow to warn them of the Minister of Magic coming. Kingsley Shacklebolt sends a warning message via Patronus of a lynx to the burrow during Flora and Bill Weasley's wedding that the Ministry has fallen and the Death Eaters are coming. I'm gonna throw this quote in here because it's a cool bit from Order of the Phoenix at the fake galleons. On real galleons, that's just a serial number referring to the goblin who cast the coin. On these fake coins, though, the numbers will change to reflect the time and date of the next meeting. When Harry sets the date of the next meeting, he'll change the number on his coin, and they'll all change to mimic his.
Sometimes you just don't know if the message is really from the person it claims to be. That's why using an out-of-band method to confirm the sender is helpful. You get an email telling you to do something? Text the person just to make sure the email is from that person. Harry usually uses Hedwig to send letters to Sirius, but when all the messages sent by owls are monitored, he's afraid to use Hedwig, so he uses the Flu network instead. The way that public keys and private keys work is that messages sent to you are encrypted with a public key that you share with everyone and can only be decrypted with the private key that only you have. My parents use PGP to send encrypted emails this way. Sadly, we couldn't find any examples in the Harry Potter books. If you find any, please share them with us.
The next two defenses don't fall under authentication or encryption. We thought they were pretty cool. In the Half-Blood Prince, we learned that very dark magic, Horcruxes. Well, you split your soul, you see, says Slughorn, and hide part of it in the object outside the body. Then, even if one's body is attacked or destroyed, one cannot die, or part of the soul remains earthbound and undamaged.
With data fragmentation, a secret, like a top secret file, gets split up into small parts and stored in different places. The idea is to make it hard for someone to find and assemble all the pieces in the right way to view the file. Encrypt each part and it gets even more complicated. But want to really frustrate that attacker? Put the pieces on different machines throughout the entire network. The catch is that it slows you down when you want the file too, but the secret may be important enough to be worth taking that extra time. It's like a Horcrux. The different fragments are all sections of a whole. Voldemort put a bit of his soul into 7 places. His diary, his grandfather's ring, Salazar Slytherin's locket, Helga Hufflepuff's cup, Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem, Nagini the snake, and, by accident, Harry Potter. Damage the Horcrux, and Voldemort's soul is damaged. Damage enough of these fire wolf fragments, and you won't be able to reassemble the document anymore.
There are ways to trick attackers into thinking that they're successful. Honeypots trick attackers into breaking into computers that don't have anything important. Cyber deception sets up decoys in the network and tricks attackers into going after those decoys. It's a time waster. All the time the attackers are trying to steal passwords and files from the decoy machine is all time they are not using to steal real files or damage real machines. The Order of the Phoenix needed to pick up Harry from Uncle Vernon's house to take him to the burrow. They knew the Death Eaters would try to kidnap or kill Harry, so they came up with a plan to have 7 Harry Potters. With 7 identical Harry Potters, the Death Eaters would have a hard time knowing which group had the real Harry. The idea was to try to lure the Death Eaters into attacking the decoy Harry and give the real Harry time to get to the burrow.
We talked a lot about defenses, but what in the world are we protecting ourselves from? Harry and his friends learned about the attacks so that they could use the defenses. So this section looks at 3 of the most common attacks. We go back to the Chamber of Secrets for this one. What we'd have to do is get inside the Slytherin common room and ask Malfoy for a few questions without him realizing it's us. Don't bother with the truth serum or a spell that forces people to talk. Trick them. Social engineering is when you tell is when you convince someone to tell you something really important, even if they shouldn't. The easiest way is just to ask, hey, what's the Netflix password?
Not telling you that.
Oh well, I tried. But what if I knew that the password was, say, Grandma's birthday? Then I can just ask her, and she'll probably tell me. Hagrid accidentally revealed how music puts Fluffy to sleep, which is how Professor Quirrell got past Fluffy when it was time to steal the Sorcerer's Stone. Hagrid didn't mean to do that. Harry also used Felix Felicis to help him talk to Horace Slughorn. Slughorn didn't intend to tell Harry anything about Horcruxes, but wound up doing so. Don't tell a stranger on a Discord channel the name of your dog if that's your security question. If your friends offer you $5 for your password, don't give it to them. Not even if it means you can buy lots of candy.
Speaking of candy, Pear Drop, Licorice Wand, Fizzing Whizbee, Drooble's Best Blowing Gum, Birdie Bot's Every Flavor Beans, Chocolate Frog, Sugar Quill, Cockroach Cluster. Harry knows Dumbledore loves candy. When you're in a rush, sometimes you don't want to go through an entire list.
Very true.
Brute force attacks are more likely to be successful when the person is using a common password, like password 1, or a guessable pattern, like QWERTY Oop. In the previous quote, Harry has to run through a long list before accidentally guessing cockroach clusters. In Deathly Hallows, Harry rightly guesses that Dumbledore is the new password to enter the headmaster's tower. Brute force attacks can be really, really slow and really inefficient because it's just a long guessing game. It may be just going through a list of frequently used passwords, or it could be trying different permutations of letters and numbers. But if an attacker has plenty of time, then it's still worth the effort for them.
This bit is from the Chamber of Secrets again. Except that he looked pale and shocked, Ron was indistinguishable from Crabbe. That Polyjuice potion is quite the ultimate form of identity theft. Harry and his friends use Polyjuice potion to make themselves look like other people so that they can be in places that maybe they shouldn't be. They sneak into the Slytherin common room to talk to Draco Malfoy. Later, they turn themselves into actual Ministry workers to get inside the Ministry of Magic. The danger, of course, is if you run into the person you are pretending to be. Someone once stole my dad's social security number and opened up a bunch of new credit cards. He found out because that person bought a lot of stuff from Target and Old Navy's and other store, and he got the bill. If someone has your email address and password, that person can send emails at you. I would have so much fun pretending to be my brother on his Insta account.
Tips to be a secure Witcher wizard. Use a secret keeper to protect your sensitive information in a safe and secure place. Protect it with a strong password. Password managers are awesome. Use them.
Dumbledore was a great wizard, but his passwords were not so great. Don't use candies or hobbies as your password. Make them complicated and hard to guess for someone else, but easy to remember for you.
Don't rely on just one layer of security. If the Sorcerer's Stone is protected by so many things, why isn't your stuff protected that well?
If Hermione is sending messages that can't be intercepted, then you should be doing the same thing. There's many ways to use encryption. Use them.
Sirius Black got into the Gryffindor common room because Neville wrote down the passwords and then lost that paper. Don't write down passwords on a post-it or someplace anyone can see. Look out for potential scams when someone is trying to get you to reveal something they don't need to know. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. And
remember what Mad-Eye Moody always said, constant vigilance. It's not just about Death Eaters and Dementors.
If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here today.